Namaste, Shri Matre Namaha, Amanda. Welcome to India. And today is a very gracious and humbling opportunity for me to know you better and to also share with our viewers about your beautiful book, The Way of the Goddess. This is a very wonderful book on the Mahavidyas that has been curated by our very talented and blessed goddess herself, Amanda. So, so Amanda, I want to ask you a few questions about your personal journey with the goddess. How long have you been associated to the Shakti concept, and how did it come to you in your life?
I've actually been coming to India for over 45 years, so I've grown up with India. And India has been a very big part of my life, and it made a big impression on me. I was in an ashram when I was in my 20s. But you know, when I was younger, I didn't have that interest, but it was only 10 years ago when I went to stay at Johari House with my friend Seema, and we visited the Goddess Mandala and the site where Sati threw herself on the fire. And there's also a Mahavidya temple at the back of the Shiva temple. And when I walked in there, something happened to me. I don't know what it was, but I saw all these goddesses. Like in Western psychology, when you say goddess, you think of young, beautiful women swanning around in diaphanous robes. But when I went into the Mahavidya temple, there was Baglamukhi with the demon holding his tongue about to club him over the head, and Kali with her mala of skulls, and Dumavati with her crow. And it was just a whole different ball game. It just changed something in my consciousness.
So that was the starting point for you to connect with the Indian concept of Shakti.
Yes. I mean, I'd heard about Shakti, and I had a sense of it from, you know, other things I'd read, and, you know, being involved in Indian philosophy since I was in my 20s. But it wasn't really like a living, breathing realization. It was more of an idea that was out there, and it didn't really grab my attention until I met the Mahavidyas.
But then how is the book connected to this point of in your journey?
Well, that was when I was staying at Johari House, and then I started investigating the goddesses. So I got especially a book by Sally Kempton called Awakening Shakti, and then I studied that for 2 years and did all the meditations and practices. And in the meantime, I was coming back to India more and doing yantras in Johari House, and I just started to get more of an embodied, felt sense of what that really meant. And it was then 1 year I was doing Navaratri, and 1 year I spent Navaratri in Johari House on my own without a group. And I was doing a lot of Durga meditation, Durga Nyasa. And at the end of it, Durga appeared to me and said, "You have to write a book about this."
Oh,
so when, you know, a demon-slaying, weapon-wielding goddess riding a lion with fabulous jewellery, of course, tells you to write a book, you say, "Yes, ma'am."
And you're quite into the traditional concepts. So can you show us this book, and how does Upasak actually help himself get deeper with his connection via your beautiful book?
Well, I've got 12 goddesses in the book.
Can you just show it?
They're not all. I've got 12 yantras. They're not all Mahavidyas. That one is Dumavati, Bhuvaneshwari, Kali, Matangi, and
can you show a few of the precious yantras to
Kali yantra?
Yes.
And so in each one, there's the coloured one here, and then on this page is art quality paper, and you can colour it in. And you can also, it's perforated, so you can tear it out and frame it afterwards.
Yes, and you can place this self hard work yantras on your altars, in your spaces for consecration, and that's how you build a personal connection when you're doing the work. it's actually meditative and immersive.
Yeah, and when you're painting a yantra, when you're colouring in the yantra, they are actually, it's activating the subtle body of the goddess in you.
Yes.
So it's a really great way to really feel more of that goddess energy in your life.
Can you show this artwork of yours? I presume that this book has many of her other artwork also, other than the mandalas. Please see this beautiful. Which
This is
goddess
Lakshmi.
This? Okay.
This is the goddess
Yes.
Lakshmi, or my version of the goddess Lakshmi.
Yeah.
And this is a what I call Davy Doodle, and there's instructions there as well, and also art paper for after the yantra. There's a blank page, and again a perforated page where you can do a Davy Doodle with the instructions. And this is an art process that I've developed where you first of all write down all the things that you want to change, what you want and what you're willing to give up from the goddess. And then you start, there's sort of like a series of steps that you take.
And I see a journaling page also over there, which
Yes.
helps you crystallize your experiences while you are.
Yeah, it's very interactive.
Yeah.
And the other, that's just a blank page, but the other thing that, this is one of my favourite things, a friend of mine gave me this idea actually. My yoga swami said it's really good because you only have the faces of the goddess, it's good to have their Devanagari. So then a friend of mine said, why don't you do the hand with the Devanagari on it? So when you recite the mantra, you put your hand on the hand with the Devanagari and recite the mantra, so it really activates the mantra in your body.
That is really something very unique about this book, because it actually is helping you make your own unique connection. And it's not just something that you would read and educate with, but it's like a living book which you are participating in and immersing yourself into.
Yes, and each of the mantras is just, they're nice and clear, but I've only put the Bija mantra because it's like a beginner's guide, how to meet the goddess. And many of the reviews that I've had are people who have had no experience of the goddess, but from reading the book they're going through a hard time, so they've picked a goddess in here, done the mantra, coloured in the yantra, and done this Bija mantra thing here with the page, and they've reported amazing shifts. Isn't that incredible? I mean, because the thing with the goddess is, well, you'd know this better than anyone I'm sure, is that they're always there to help you, but you have to ask. And as women, we tend to always do things for everybody else and not ask for help for ourselves.
Yes.
So this is really about asking for help. And when you ask Mother Goddess for help in whatever form, and there's 12 different forms, they're not all Mahavidyas in here, but when you ask Mother Goddess for help, she shows up and things really change.
So each of the yantras are actually like doorways of through which the seeker enters and connects to the energy signature of the goddess and receives the grace and mutates and transforms his life for the better.
Yeah.
So I think the book itself is very much like a living blessing. And as I said, it's coming through the channeling of the divine goddess herself. So I really want to congratulate you, Amanda, for this work. And I would like to know more about the spiritual retreats that you do with women, and what has inspired that?
Well, it really came from doing the book. The book in itself was a spiritual retreat, because what I did was, in the feminine style, I gathered together a group of yoga friends from my yoga cohort and asked them to help me.
Okay.
Asking the goddess for help. And so this is the idea I got. So I wrote to a group of people. I said, oh yes, we'll help you. So what we did was we got the Awakening Shakti book and Shakti Mantras book, and we went through every week a different chapter, and we recited the mantras every day for a week, and then at the end of the week we would report what happened during that week as a result of it. So it's like a empirical evidence, I suppose, of the power of the mantras. So in the book is actually the stories of, it's like the culmination or the distillation of what happened to everybody while we were on that journey together. And it's really interesting. And they're often just very subtle things, but it's so obvious. It's like that flavour that we were exploring that week was showing up in that way. And we were just doing it as an investigation, just as an experiment.
Yes, you were neutral, but then you found so many corroborations that has helped and further your trust in the goddess, in connection, in also connecting amongst other human souls who are also experiencing her in different ways. So it's like a satsang. It's like an exchange of how everybody is perceiving the goddess in their own unique ways, and yet there are so many questions that are answered. Maybe they are your questions you've not asked, but somebody in the group has answered or has had an experience from the work and is now voicing it on your behalf.
And people had over that, so we really worked together for nearly 2 years actually. We did Awakening Shakti mantras. We went from weekly to then monthly. And then we also did the 10 Mahavidyas book. So we explored a whole range. And the changes people had in their life was really interesting. And, incredibly enlivening and joyful and sometimes a little bit uncomfortable and disturbing.
Yes.
But basically people, their heart opened more and they had more energy, more Shakti flowing in their life. And then they too started having little yantra painting works. And also we painted the yantra. Every month we painted a yantra together. Some people came to my house. Some people, would tune in on Zoom. So, it was
tell us about the recent phenomenal retreat that you've conducted for these amazing group of women at Kamakhya. So how was the experience of doing all the rituals and being in a core group and working out your emotions and so much sharing happening? How was the experience?
Actually there wasn't so much sharing happening, but there was a lot of co-experiencing.
Okay.
Some people, it was like a bit of a deep end being at Kamakhya. It's a pretty wild place. And but still we had fire rituals every day. We had a couple of evening groups where people were able to sort of just share what their experience was. But now everybody's home. They're all, reporting, that they've just sort of one person who has actually had quite a difficult time, so they can't get the smile off their face. They're just seeing Devi in everything. They're all colouring yantras, posting them in our WhatsApp group. So there's a whole lot of Devi stuff going on.
I'm sure they've carried the essence and also all your hard work in, helping them connect with the goddess. So I think it's phenomenal work. Yeah. I'd like to really thank you so much for this time. And I would like to know more about your forthcoming book, which you have been churning. So tell us a little bit about it.
Part of the research was going to Kamakhya, and then the next book is on the Mahavidyas themselves and my journey with them. Well, not only my journey, but other people's journey with the Mahavidyas. And I will probably be doing a similar thing as I did with this group who created this book, but also now with this book, I'm creating a goddess practice group. So people can then go through this book with other women, because it's all about just being in the Sangha, being in a group of like-minded people and supporting each other on that journey of awakening and staying awake. And so the Mahavidyas, I'll probably, ask another group of friends to come and do the Mahavidya practices and then do a similar thing. Yeah.
And I hope and pray that your forthcoming book is going to be even superseding this in your contribution towards the world. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pallavi ji. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.